Sorry for the wind, but I think it'll die down as I climb a little bit lower here. I'm just providing a short, sad update to the status of my attempt to cross the Alaska Range in Denali National Park in a straightish line, the straightest line I can. So the quickest possible recap is I started intending to do another segment separately, just because of logistical reasons last summer. Couldn't complete the main part of the line last summer because I was simply not set up properly. So I reluctantly, sadly, put it off to this year. And I came here in June, started out again knowing it was already doomed because of quite a few reasons altogether. But I had another trip scheduled for July and I was sure I was going to make it that time. And unfortunately the weather forecast at the last minute was thunderstorms over the range, high chance of rain the whole time, and I backed out. And I'm not sure that was the right idea, because it turned out to not be as bad as the forecast said, but I tried to make the smart choice, and that's how it went. Okay, I do have to throw in a quick story about how the July trip went, because it was something a little bit different. I usually leave people out of my adventures, but there was a pretty remarkable chance to meet some people this trip. So in order for the trip to work logistically, I had to make it a little bit complicated. I needed to start the hike at a campground, and I couldn't get a campsite that night. So the only way for that to really work out was for me to go talk to strangers and find some people who might let me share their campsite that evening. And I'd have to park my car at the park entrance, and then at the end of the hike, I would have to take a local taxi back to the park entrance. So the day before the hike, I went in to see if I could find someone who might let me share the site, and I talked to a couple people that were leaving too early, and that wouldn't work out. And then I stopped to talk to some people that were having lunch under one of the picnic covers there, and they were like 3 young college-age people, and they said sure, they'd be happy to help out. And in return, they asked for some hiking advice, since I had been to the park 30 times, and pulled out my laptop. This is in the middle of the park with no internet service or anything, and the only way I could show them anything was to pull up the Garmin program, and I had some GPS tracks saved on the laptop, and so I could at least give them some start and end coordinates so that they could find where to start and stop a hike. And as we talked, I didn't really explain what my plan was other than to just go for a long hike the next day, but it became hard to ignore the giant straight line across the map that we were all looking at. And finally I was about to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And before I could even really get to the explanation, one of the people asked, hey, do you watch GeoWizard? Do you know what straight lines are? And they guessed just from looking at my map that that's maybe what I was up to. So out of all the people I could have talked to, I managed to pick some people that were not only Straight Line Mission appreciators, but as we talked more, it turned out, I'm a professional biologist. They are sort of amateur interested biologists. I'm an amateur classical musician. They're classical music grad students. And they were in Alaska for their own ridiculous adventure. So it was a really remarkable chance to meet those people. And then the evening before the hike, instead of going to bed like I should have, we just stayed up until 2 a.m. talking around the campfire. Had a great time. It was really cool to meet them. And then when I gave up on the hike the next day, I went to Denali State Park outside the national park boundary and did another hike I'd been putting off since 2019. That's where this background video came from. So it was still a great trip, just not quite the Straight Line Mission attempt I had hoped. And my only hope at that point was that somehow magically there would be a last burst of pleasant weather in fall. I actually stopped because the rocks are sliding. The wind's kind of died down now. So my last hope is there'd be a bit of nice weather in fall before winter. And the week I had scheduled for that trip, instead of being nice, had a massive early winter storm, and that was a week ago. And at that point I canceled, just figured it was completely out of the question. But then I got up Monday morning, today's Thursday. So I got up Monday morning and the forecast for this week actually looked pretty nice. It did warm up quite a bit, a lot of the snow melted off, and I felt like rather than wait 10 months to see what happened and maybe fail again, I'd come out and give it a shot. I did try my best, but I never quite believed, not just in myself, but in this mountain range to let me through. And that's how it's going. The weather's not quite as nice as they said it would be. That's often the case here. I thought I was off to a good start yesterday, but couldn't make as much progress today. There was a lot of snow on this is a south-facing slope. There's no snow here, but every north-facing slope was snowy. The time of day it is now, I would have had to be at the top of that to feel comfortable continuing on. That's probably another 3 hours of work. And so that's just, it has been off the table most of the day. So my only hope, I think, to ever get this mission done, realistically, as a solo attempt, is to really distress the people that are just obsessed with standards and purity, and not do it all in one piece. The segment I've done up until now just has a lot of wasted up and down elevation gain that just, all it does is wear you out before you get to the final dangerous climb to the crest, and then there's some really sketchy stuff beyond that. So my most likely plan now is to come back next summer, probably in July. There's a river valley over there. Hike up the river valley with no wasted elevation gain, and come to where I'm going to quit today in a few minutes and pick up the line from there. So I will have done a segment of this line in 2024, another segment of this line in 2025, and I sure hope I finish it in 2026. Otherwise it's dead then, not just going into hibernation. So for the few people who might have been waiting with interest to see if I could make it this summer, sorry I couldn't. It was just not going to work out, and I hope I'll be back. I did record everything up to this point. I'm not sure if it's worth posting an episode now or waiting until I succeed here and then can post the sequence all at once of, 3 episodes probably. I'm inclined to wait, so you might not see that for a few months as well. That's kind of why I'm recording this. Anyway, I don't know what else I might get up to this winter. Maybe I can come up with some other fun ideas, but if nothing else, see you guys next summer.